Hello everyone and welcome to our special coverage of China's political season. I'm Zhong Shi in Beijing.
And I'm Wang Mengmeng. In about an hour time, China's top advisory body, the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, or CPPCC, will begin its opening session. Well, 2024 marks the 75th year of the CPPCC, and Chairman Wang Huning will deliver a work report.
That's right, the CPPCC's opening session signals the beginning of the most important annual event on China's political calendar, the two sessions. The CPPCC will meet for 6 days until March the 10th.
That's right, Zhongshan. The CPPCC has nearly 2,200 members from different political parties, social groups, sectors, and organizations. Its most important functions are political consultation, democratic supervision, and deliberation of state affairs.
And of course, CGTN will also bring you live coverage of the members' corridor, which gives national political advisors a chance to address the public. So make sure you do stay with us right here.
That's right. And here we are very pleased to be joined in the studio by Chair Professor Victor Gao from Suzhou University and Lawrence Brum, Senior International Fellow at the Center for China and Globalization. Great to have you with us, gentlemen, on our program.
Thank you.
And the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference is the most powerful political advisory body here in China. It's mainly responsible for political consultation, democratic supervision, and the deliberation and administration of state affairs. Specifically, it discusses major principles and policies proposed by the central and local governments. The CPPCC gives proposals on matters concerning political, economic, cultural, and social affairs. It supervises the implementation of the Constitution and the country's rules and regulations. It also conducts investigations and studies into social conditions and popular sentiments. This year will be the 75th anniversary of the CPPCC and the People's Republic. From its inception, the advisory body has been integral to the country's rejuvenation, unity, and development. Let's now take a look at some key milestones in its history.
In September 1949, the first CPPCC plenary session was held in Beijing. It exercised the functions and power of the National People's Congress, which had not yet been established. The session proclaimed the founding of the PRC as the will of all Chinese people and adopted the common program of the CPPCC as a provisional constitution. It also decided on the capital city, national flag, and anthem, and elected the first government of the Republic. In September 1954, the first National People's Congress convened in Beijing. It passed the first constitution of the PRC, which transferred the legislative functions of the CPPCC to the National People's Congress. Later that year, the CPPCC charter was adopted at the body's annual meeting. It stated that the CPPCC would continue to serve as a united front organization. Since China's reform and opening up began in 1978, the CPPCC has ushered in a new stage of development. It has been supporting the cause of modernization and national reunification by deliberating on state affairs, making proposals, building consensus, and uniting compatriots outside the Chinese mainland. In 1982, for the first time, the nature and role of the CPPCC were included in the Constitution. 11 years later, it was written into the Constitution that the system of multi-party cooperation and political consultation under the Communist Party of China's leadership will continue and develop long into the future. 2019 marked the 70th anniversary of the CPPCC. During the Central Conference on CPPCC work, Chinese President Xi Jinping said the body fully demonstrates the feature and advantages of Chinese socialist democracy, which advocates broad consultation in decision-making and problem-solving. He called for the CPPCC to be upheld and for improvement of its work of political consultation and democratic oversight.
And now let's check in the latest with our reporter Wu Bin. He's live for us from the Members' Corridor at the Great Hall of the People, the venue of the opening session of the CPPCC. Well, Wu Bin, political advisors are gathering there. Fill us in the latest on today's agenda, please.
Right, so I'm currently standing inside the Great Hall of the People, and the annual session of the 14th CPPCC will kick off in about an hour. But before that, there's a tradition called Members' Corridor. That's a group interview. It's a tradition that starts in 2018, and it's got a lot of attention. As you can see behind me, Chinese and foreign media are waiting here to raise questions to CPPCC members. And for CPPCC this year, there will be 3 Members' Corridor. The group interviews like this. And each time there will be 8 to 10 CPPCC members. They are here to take questions from Chinese and foreign media. And each of the group interview will last for about 40 minutes. And then at 3 o'clock, the annual session of the 14th CPPCC will kick off. And the main agenda this afternoon is that all the members will listen and review a work report on the Standing Committee of the 14th CPPCC on the work of the past year.
Wu Bing, it's a very popular tradition, we should add, that has been held since 2018. I think people get a chance really to see and hear from those CPPCC members. In a few moments, we'll be watching some of them address the press and media. Talk to us about who they are and what do you know about them?
Right. So just now, so I would like to start with how the CPPCC members are, are come from, because unlike NPC deputies, they come from their organizations they represent. So this year there will be over 2,100 CPPCC members. They will listen and review the work report, and so they are divided into different categories, and there will be 34 categories, including, for example, the scientific category, the education category, and there are CPPCC members for all the 56 nationalities in China. And one thing I should let you know is that over 60% of the CPPCC members, they are not Communist Party members. They are from the 8 other democratic parties, and some of them are individuals without any party affiliation. So it's a very, very important part of China's democracy. Zhou
We appreciate that update from you, CGTN reporter Wu Bing, live at the members' corridor. We'll be checking in with him later in our program. Thank you so much. And let's talk about all of this with our studio guests here, Victor Gao and Lawrence Brom. Lawrence, beginning with you here. Yes. This is a crucial year. It marks 75th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China and also the CPPCC. What do you make of the milestones?
Well, first of all, this is a very critical year in China's own economic transition. We've come out of the COVID period. We're seeing a period of actually global, should we say, disintegration of some of the means of transport we could call deglobalization or decoupling. And so now it's a time to reset the Chinese economy. And I think some of the important emphasis on ecological civilization and new industries, particularly with an emphasis on domestic consumption, travel, culture, as a means of stimulating domestic consumption, spending power, and also local government, infrastructure for travel, together with, of course, technologies that are being developed right now. The whole Greater Bay Area in, the South. This is actually a transitional time for China's economy, moving away from the classic industrial production, fixed asset investment into more high-tech, more green, more higher quality products, and with it, higher quality lifestyle. And I think that is a major change that we're seeing right now with this 5th-year plan. And that's why this is a particularly important session to see what policies now are going to take China through, especially at this time of global economic contraction.
Certainly special timing. But let me ask you this, Victor. What does that say about the current state of China's development and, of course, where we are in terms of realizing those central goals and tasks set out by Chinese authorities?
Well, indeed, there is a lot of headwind, both internationally as well as domestically, facing China. And we need to really handle these challenges, both at home and overseas, in a headlong way. And I think there is only one way out. That is to continue the economic and political reform on the one hand, and continue to open wider to the outside world. And despite of all the pressures raised by certain countries about decoupling and the deglobalization, China thinks it's the only right thing to continue with this globalization drive, because eventually we are living truly in one world, and no one can really divide the world up into opposing blocks or to recreate another version of the Cold War. And I think China needs to work with all the countries involved, including the developed countries, even though they may be pressured by certain other country to decouple, for example. And I think eventually China need to overcome the domestic challenges as well as international challenges to make sure that the world remains in peace rather than plunge into war or confrontation.
And gentlemen, now let's take a look at the current state of China's economy. For example, the private sector is vital in promoting innovation and creating jobs as the country speeds up its modernization and high-quality development. So how to foster the growth of the private sector will be one of the major focus for CPPCC members during their annual session. And CGTN's Gao Wang sat down with economics professor Bai Chong-en, a CPPCC member, for his insights.
Professor Bai, thank you for speaking to CGTN. Recently, China has released a series of policies and measures to support the private economy. What needs to be done to boost the confidence of private entrepreneurs?
This is a very good question. I think, first of all, equal treatment of firms with different ownership in getting credit, in recruiting employees, and in getting government business. We should emphasize more of such equal treatment. And then also we have some regulations still that are unfavorable to private business. So we need to change those regulations to implement equal treatment. And even if the regulations may be the same, but the implementation of the regulations may be different. So this is a more difficult issue. And related to this is the media environment. If the media, especially social media, is not very friendly towards private business, such media pressure may be a factor behind the unequal accountability. So if we can make the media environment more friendly to private business, that helps in many situations. And also we need to have better coordination of policies. Another measure is to facilitate better communication channels between policymakers and private businesses. Policymakers need to know the concerns of private businesses better, and when policymakers make some policy decision, they should communicate the intention of the policies better to the private business. So these two directions of communication is really important. On that front, I think the government has already done something last year under NDRC. They set up a Bureau for Private Business. I think they should play this role of serving as the communicator much better than before.
We still got a couple more minutes before the Members Corridor kicks off. Let's talk about the private sector with our guests here. Lawrence, the private sector is such an important contributor to the Chinese economy here. You heard the professor, the economics professor, address this issue, talking about changes and reforms are necessary so that the private sector can reach the best of its potential here. What are some of those necessary
reform
changes?
and opening of China, the private sector has been absolutely key in driving the Chinese economy. And for years, you know, the UN, what they call the Global Compact, has been trying to promote the idea of public-private collaboration. Actually, China's the epitome of that, because you have whole areas where the state is actually having policies to drive and promote the private sector. And of course, you do have industries and sectors which are state-owned, but not in the context of a lot of Western misinterpretations. Oh, it's a communist party, so everything's owned by the state. That is absolutely false. Actually, it's very much driven by the private sector. And where the state sector is not able to cover many areas, the private sector fills in that elasticity and is very much a part of the symbiosis and collaboration of state-private development of the Chinese economy. So it's really all about a collaborative relationship between the, so we say, planned sector and the market sector working in symbiosis. We need a lot more of
well,
that.
Mr. Brown, let's now go live to the Great Hall of the People. The political advisors or CPPCC members are expected to take questions from journalists home and abroad.
Welcome to the first members corridor of the second session of the 14th CPPCC. We have invited some of the members of the CPPCC here at the Great Hall of the People to take your questions. Each journalist will only take one question. And before asking the question, please identify yourself. May I now bring on stage the first batch of members. Now please introduce yourselves. Good afternoon. I'm a CPPCC member. My name is Ye Cong. I'm from China Sheep Research Academy. Good afternoon. My name is Guo Jian, a CPPCC member. I come from the Qinghai Tibet Railway Corporation. Good afternoon. My name is Han Baojiang. I come from the Central Party School and China National Governance Academy. Now the floor is open for questions. First question, please. Thank you very much. I'm with People's Daily. My question is directed to Ye Cong. In the New Year's address, President Xi Jinping said that the Striver deep-sea submersible is deeply inspiring, and you are the designer of the deep-sea submersible. Tell us more about the story. Thank you very much for your story. The Striver submersible is the first deep-sea submersible of China that can reach the deepest point of the sea. It's a manned submersible. In 2017, it landed successfully at the Straits of Mariana, reaching a depth of more than 10,000 meters. And that is a record depth of China. It's also supported video interactions at such a depth. Between 2020 and 2023, the Striver submersible concluded its Pacific Sea investigation covering multiple trenches, such as the Mariana. It has made 63 dives, refreshing the record of this kind. And because of this expedition, we have also launched the journey of international cooperation. Multiple scientists from overseas have participated in our program. And right now, the Striver submersible is diving at the Java Trench, supporting the cooperation between China and Indonesia. And over the past few years, we have made 230 dives, and 25 of them have exceeded the mark of 10,000 meters. A total of 33 researchers have gone to such depths. And these successful dives have accumulated a great number of very valuable data and samples, laying a solid foundation for international maritime exploration. The successful research and development and application of Striver submersible marks a new development of China's scientific innovation and development in a new era. The Striver submersible, together with its dives, have demonstrated the technology that we have independently developed, and they are also related to Jiaolong and Warrior submersibles. And these three submersibles, they have together made more than 1,100 such dives. Over the past 3 years, half of the world's deep-sea explorations were accomplished by these three submersibles. In the next few years, we are going to improve our informationization efforts. We're going to cover more trenches, and that also includes the ocean under the ice. We will demonstrate the cluster operations and cluster operation capabilities of ours. On the other hand, we are going to roll out a number of systemic efforts covering the air and maritime and seawater to the sea bottom. This will be a three-dimensional research and application structure so as to increase and enhance our understanding about the ocean. As a technological researcher for maritime studies, we will wrap up our experience and climb new heights in science and technological research so as to make greater contributions to the human exploration of the sea. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ye, next question, please.
请西区那位穿粉色西装的女记者提问。
谢谢主持人，我是学习强国学习平台记者。我的问题想提给郭吉安委员。去年青藏铁路正式进入动车时代，请问在推进青藏铁路高质量发展方面，包括您在内的青藏铁路人付出了怎样的努力？您有怎样的体会？谢谢。
What's your personal feeling about it?
好，谢谢记者的提问。
Thank you for your questions.
在高原上工作，
To work on the
最稀缺的
plateau,
是氧气。
oxygen is much urgently needed, but we must be high-spirited. So we keep challenging ourselves to seek excellence. That is the spirit for generations of locals in Xizang. And in 1956, CPC called for the establishment of the railway. From design, investigation to construction and operation, several generations of people have been fighting for this railway so that the railway can connect with Lhasa. And now it's a reality. This is the one railway that crosses the plateau with a total length of 1,900 kilometers. Half of that was above the sea level of 4,000 meters. So it is really the lifeline and the line that can guarantee people's happiness living locally in the high plateaus. Oxygen is taken as the most needed thing, and there was a program in CCTV broadcasting about how much oxygen was needed, and for a decade, even those people have been in urgent need of oxygen, they keep sending the oxygen to the others in need. Liu Biaoling is a staff member of the railway, and he dedicated 17 years to that effort with an average sea level of 5,000 meters. And he himself suffered from the lung disease, and his wife asked him to come back, but he said no. And right because people are urgently needed to work on that railway, that's why he has to persist there. He bears in mind his initial mission to serve the people, and he loved that piece of land. Since he chose his pathway and his career, he had to persist there. There are many examples like Liu Biaoling, and I'm just one of them. I feel deeply proud about them. We showed our courage in difficulties, in the high plateaus and in the fragile environment with frost. People never shy away from the difficulties. Instead, those difficulties stimulated them to shoulder their responsibilities. In consideration of the features of the railway in the plateau, we have to ensure safety, green development, and to make breakthroughs accordingly. To build a first-class plateau railway, to create a safe environment, we have been working hard so as to improve people's livelihood. This year marks the 75th anniversary of the founding of PRC. We see a bright future for our motherland.
And as a staff member working for the Qinghai-Xizang Railway, we will continue to work for high-quality development and people's improved livelihood. We will continue to open a new chapter for the high-quality development on the plateau. And I look forward to all of you guys to take our railway to the plateau, to experience the spirit of this railway. Thank you.
谢谢郭委员。
Thank you very
请记者
much,
提问，
Mr.
请
Guo.
举手示意。
Next
请东
question,
西四位
please.
穿黑西服的男记者提问。
谢谢主持人。
Thank you very
中央
much.
广播电视总台
I'm
记者
with
提问。我的
CMG.
问题想提给
My
韩宝江
question
委员。
is directed
中央经济工作会议
to
提
member
出
Han
要
Baojiang.
全
According
面
to
聚
the
焦
China
经济
Economic
建设
Work
这一中
Conference,
心工作
we have
和
to
高质
focus
量发
on
展
the
这一
key
首
and
要任务。
central task
那今
of
年的这个经
developing
济
our
形势开局
economy.
还是挺不错的。
We've had
想问
a
一下
great
韩委员，
opening
您
and
如何来
start
看
of
待
this
今
year?
年中国经济的一
My
个发展
question
前景？
is, how
对
do
于经济高
you
质量发
envision
展，
China's
您又有什么
economic
样的建
development
议呢？
this
谢
year,
谢
and
您。
what are the proposals that you have for high-quality development? Thank you for your
今年啊
question.
是甲辰龙年，
This is the
有个
year
成
of the
语
dragon.
叫虎跃龙
We
腾。
have an idiom that is the dragon soaring into the sky.
就如这
The China's
成语
economy in the year of
将
dragon,
在
I think,
去
will
年回升
soar
向
into
好，
the sky.
取
It
得
will
5.2%
bounce back
经济增长
on a
亮
basis
眼
of
成绩的基础
5.2%
上
of growth last year
迎来新的腾飞。
and enter into
根据国家
a
统计
new
局公布
field
的
according
年初经济
to
数据，
the economic
许
data
多指标
of
好于去
National
年，实现了良好开局。
Bureau of Statistics. A lot of
今
the
年
indicators
元
are
旦春
performing
节
better than last
走
year.
南闯北，
In the Chinese New Year
走西
holiday,
串东的
we have
旅游
seen
热潮，
a boom
充
of
分展
traveling
示
and
中
tourism,
国经济实现新
which
腾
is
飞的
an
好
attestament to the robust growth of the Chinese economy during the New Year
有
holiday.
4.74亿
We've
人
had
次
more than
返乡，
470 million people
有
who
22.93
went back to
亿
their
人
homes,
次
and
发
there
去
are also 2.9 billion
这
people
一壮丽
traveling in
景
between
象，
different localities.
世
And
界
this
绝
is
无
a
仅有。
magnificent scene
这除了说明我
not to be
们中国
found in
人
anywhere
有更
else.
强烈
And this is
浓郁的
only
亲
telling
情
us
友
that
情、
the Chinese people
乡愁，还
having
有诗和远
strong
方，
family bond
更显
and
示
the
了中国经济的勃勃生机
nostalgic,
和强大能量
and。it also shows the strong
因此，
momentum of the Chinese
没有理
economy.
由不看好中国经
So
济。
there's no reason that you do not have
其实啊，
confidence in the Chinese
看好中
economy.
国经济，还有
And
更
when
深
it
的
comes to the Chinese
底层逻辑。
economy, there is a
这
deep
就是
layer logic
新中国成
you
立
need to know,
75年，
and that is over the past 75
改革开
years
放
since the
46 年，
founding of the People's Republic
尤
of
其
China.
是新时代
Over
12年
the
来
past 4
发
decades
展
of
形成的比较
reform
优
and
势
opening up, and in
和
particular,
增
over the
长
past
潜力
12 years, we have formulated,
巨大，
we have accumulated
也
a
是无与
comparative
伦比的。
advantage since entering the new
讲
era,
优势，
and this is
我
a
们有坚
strength
持党
that
的
is
全
not
面领导的
competed
政治
and
优势，社会主义市场经济的体制优势，
we also have the advantage of
超大规模市场
socialist
的
market
需求
economy.
优势，
We have a
产业体
huge,
系配套
gigantic
完整的供给优势，
domestic market
还有
and a
大量高素
complete
质劳动
industrial system.
和
We
企
also
业
have
家
a
的
huge
产业
number of laborers and
讲潜力，
entrepreneurs.
就是在
And talking
实
about
现人
potential,
口规模巨大、
bear in mind
全体
that
人民共同富裕
we
的中国式
have
现代
a
化
huge
进程中
population, and we are now
这
talking
五大
about
优
the
势
great
将
journey
合成
of
释放
Chinese
出
modernization.
更加强大的
And this will
需求牵引供
trigger
给
even
和供
greater
给创造
domestic
需求
demand
的双重能力。
and domestic innovation.
因此啊，中国经济长期向
And
好
that is why
势不可挡。
the
中国经
fundamentals
济
of
前景光
the
明，毋
sound
庸置疑。
economic prospects of
但
China
关
have
键
not
是如
changed.
何把这些优
But the
势
key is how
潜力
to transform
更充分、
these
更好地
advantages
释放。
and potentials
对
into
此，中央经济
reality.
工作会议讲得很明确，
And that's why
那
the
就是
Central Economic Work
把推
Conference
进中国
said
式
it
现
very
代化
well,
作
and that
为
is
中国最大的
to
政治。
focus
把坚持
primarily
高质量
on
发展
promoting
作为新时代
Chinese
的硬道理，
modernization and
抓好
high
经
quality
济建
economic
设
growth.
这一中心工作
So，economic growth
抓好
is
三农，
the primary target
兜底民
of
生。
ours. We will also
为此呢，
focus on
建议
agriculture
重
and the
点打好
rural
武当
areas
牌，
as well as farmers.
一是打好创新牌，
And we're going to focus
要大
on
力发展新
innovation,
质生产力，
This means that we have to develop new productive forces and promote industrial innovation through innovation in system and also promote low-carbon development. We also need to play the card of domestic consumption, and that means we need to expand domestic consumption as well as international trade. And that means we're going to accelerate the pace of phasing out the old facilities and replacing them with new ones. The third is to form a large domestic market and enhance higher level of openness. And also we need to play the card of financial and fiscal means and make sure that there is coordination between different policies. At the same time, some of the non-economic policies will be evaluated through the lens of economic development, and this can avoid the overlaying of different policies. Also, we need to focus on safety and security. We need to hold the bottom line of systemic security risks. Thank you.
Now let's invite the second group of members. Self-introduction. Hello everyone. My name is Mo Rong, the former CPPCC member. I come from the Chinese Academy of Labor and Social Security. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Zhang Xingying from Chinese Administration of Meteorology. My name is Wu Beili from Shanghai Institute of Pharmaceutical Studies. Now we open the floor to questions.
请西区那位穿蓝色毛线衣的男记者提问。
谢谢主持人。
Thank you.
光明日报记者提问。
From Guangming
我的问题
Daily.
提给
My
莫荣委
question
员。
goes to member
就业
Mo
是
Rong.
全社会共同关心的
Employment
大
is the
事。
common
过去一
concern
年，
of the whole
各界
society.
各方都在
Last year,
想方设法促进就业。
all
据您了解，
all
党和政
communities
府
have
的措
been
施
making
是
efforts
如
to
何
boost
帮助大家实
employment.
现
So
就业
how
的？
are the
那
measures
对于
from
未
the
来的就业
government
形势，
help?
您怎么看？
And what's your take about the future employment
谢谢你的
market?
提问。
Thank you for
就
the
业是最大的
questions.
民生，
Employment
牵动着每个人、
is
每个家
the
庭
top
和
priority.
全社会的
It
心。
matters to every
党和
household
政府
and the whole
高度
society.
重视，
CPC,
明确
Central
提出
Committee,
实
and
施
the
就业
Central
优先
People's
的战
Government
略
put
和
high
政策，
premium on
制
the
定了一系
importance of
列
employment
促进
by
就业的
making
政
a
策措
series of
施，
measures to boost
千方百
employment.
计帮助大家解决就业
In all
问题。
ways, our government is
高质量
helping people
充分就业。
with employment,
昨天，
especially the
全国政协
high-quality
的新闻发言
employment.
人也就
Yesterday,
此专题做了答复。
CPPCC spokesperson
大家
answered
比较关
questions
心
about
青年和
employment.
高校毕业生的就
People
业
are
问
especially
题。
concerned
政府加大
about
扶
the
持力
employment
度，
of
着力
youngsters
扩展
and
岗
the
位，
new
优
graduates.
化
And
服务，
to that,
形
the
成了一
governments
整
have
套
been
促进
improving
高校
the
毕业
service
生
level
就业创业的政策措施。
and come
求
up
职
with
前
a，series
高
of
校毕业生
employment
可以接
measures
受职业
to
生涯
help
的教育，
those new
提升
graduates.
职业认知。
We hope to
通过
improve
职业
their
规划指导，
professionalism and
掌握
their
个人
level
的
of
优势和
education.
所
We
长，
also offer
确
guidance for their
定从业
career
方向，
choices
还
by
能获得
matching
就
the
业技
career
能培训
posts
等服
with
务的支
their
持。
interests.
求职中
And
有针对不同专业高校
in
毕
the
业生
process
的
of seeking
专场招
jobs,
聘会，
there have
还有
been
相关
some
行业
special
地区的
events
专场招
held
聘会。
catering to the
公共
needs
服务
of the
平
new
台
graduates.
持续推出
Public service
岗位招聘信
platforms
息，
are
最近还
open
推出了直播带岗
to
服务。
post the new openings. We also have
针对
live
离
streaming
校未
to
就业的
post
大
the
学生，
openings.
建立了实
For
名
the
制的台账，
graduates in the
提供
famous
政策
universities,
宣
we
传、
also have a
职业
work
指导、
log
职业介绍、
offering career
职业培训
introduction,
等等。对于
guidance,
一些
and
困难
training
的大学
sessions.
生，还提
For the
供一对一
graduates
的
with
帮助。
financial difficulties, we
还有
also
很多
have a
政策措施，
one-on-one
比如
help.
说
As to other
稳定
measures,
和
for
扩大
example,
公共部门
stabilizing
和
and
国有企业
enlarging
的招
the
录规
public
模，
government
对企
agencies'
业吸
number
纳
of
的给予
openings.
社保补贴，还有
For the
担保贷款政策
enterprises
支持。
creating jobs,
开
we
发
will
了有
offer
关
some social
三
security
支一扶
support.
等基层服务
We
和
also have
管
some
理的这些
grassroots
项
level
目，是一个很
service
好的
programs
帮
and
助大
management
学生
programs
实现
helping
了
to
就业。
attract more college
针对不
graduates.
同的群体，也
For
有相
different
应的政策措施。
groups, we also come up with targeted measures. Last month, I visited a mountainous area in Shanxi, and I interviewed a youngster in his 30s. He was a migrant worker coming from a poverty-stricken area. He was an individual worker, and then he asked for credit to learn how to keep bees, and then he even created an ecological farm. So that was a successful story of starting up his own business. And moreover, he contributed by helping the surrounding neighbors to improve their revenues. Last year, the newly added jobs exceeded 12 million. And unemployment ratio was lower last year. And we have full employment. Employment creation is a system requiring support from all aspects. We believe in the significance of helpful policies, individual efforts. We will make more solid achievements to benefit more people.
Thank you. Next question, please.
好，有请东区这位穿蓝色西服的女记者提问。
Thank you. I'm with the Farmers Daily and its associated website. My question is directed to Zhang Xingyin. In the past year of 2023, there were extreme weather events which hampered China's agricultural production. Can you tell us China's role in fighting climate change and in participating in global climate governance? Thank you very much for your question. Yes, indeed. In the past year of 2023, we have seen the hottest year since 1850. The extreme weather events have led to a number of incidents across the world. Global warming has become the common challenge of humanity. Last year, one day after the annual two sessions, I went to Switzerland and participated in a global meeting on climate change. And we participated in the drafting of a 10-year paper. According to this paper, global warming has resulted in profound and widespread influence on humanity. In the future, this impact will become more sophisticated and more difficult to be managed. China is one of the founding members of the IPCC, and over the past 30 years, we have participated in the drafting of each version of the report. And for 5 consecutive years, China has been serving as the chairman member of this panel. We have made important contributions to the fight against climate change. And right now, the total installed capacity of renewable energy in China ranks on top of the whole world, and 1/4 of the newly added green area comes from China. China is the only country in the world that is running for meteorological satellites at different altitudes, providing Earth monitoring data to different countries in the world. And facing more extreme weather events, the most effective way of humanity is early warning. As long as we have 24 hours of early warning, we can reduce the disaster and its impact by 30%. Early warning can save lives and can also offer a return on investment that is of 10 times. And over the past few years, we have established a national level early warning system, which is led by the government, participated by different sectors of the society. China is also the first batch of signers of the World Convention on Climate Change. And a couple of weeks ago, the COP28 was held in Dubai, and China organized the 126 events during the COP28, sharing our own practices. And I was there in Dubai, and we held symposiums on early warning, on prevention of disasters and disaster relief. At present, China has also set up the first early warning centers in Asia. providing support to other Asian countries. As you have rightly mentioned, because of climate change, there is an impact to food production. Last August, some of the grain producers in China, they have been affected by floods. Despite of the disasters, by enhancing our capability in early warning and by projecting accurately the area and location and the amount of precipitations, we have reduced the losses. It has also contributed the power of science to 20 years of continued growth of grain output. Faced with global challenges, we have to uphold the concept of a community of shared future so as to fight with global warming and safeguard our planet. Next question, please.
有请西区那位穿黑色西服的女记者提问。
谢谢主持人。
Thank
新华
you.
社记者提问
From
吴
Xinhua
贝利
News
委员
Agency, and the
您和
question
团
goes
队
to
近年
member
来一直
Beili.
致力于重大
You
疾
and your
病的药物
team
研发工作。
in
我
recent
们
years
想知
have
道
been
有
dedicated
哪
to
些
the
新进
R&D
展、
of
新
new
成果
drugs.
将
So
惠
what
及
are
人
the
民群众。
achievements
作为一名科技
made
工
that
作
will
者，
benefit
您
the
如何
general
理解
public?
您这份
And
职
as a
业在
scientist,
守护
what's your
人
take
民生
about
命
the
健
role
康
of
方
your
面所
job
发挥的
to
作用？谢谢。
safeguard people's life
谢谢
and
您的
safety?
提问。
Thank you for the questions. 11 years ago, my team made some research achievements as to the HIV/AIDS drugs R&D. And since then, I received the email from family members across the whole nation. In their letters, I could sense their expectation for life. As a scientist, that was the first time that I felt in person about the expectations pinned on us. But back then, we were unsure about the clinical achievements of our research. But now we have made achievements. We found that some of the candidate drugs have been in the clinical phases, and according to the efficacy compared to the similar reference drugs, we have similar efficacy. And also, we are doing some R&D of cardiovascular drugs. I think that in the near future, there will be more Chinese patented new drugs to enter the market. In recent years, I felt strongly that people are also more concerned about the rare diseases. Universities, research institutes are making joint efforts for that. And the CPC Central Committee has been asking for unity across sectors so that the drugs will be more accessible and affordable to the patients. We have been negotiating as to the medical care list. A group of rare disease drugs have been listed. Innovative drugs are also entering into the list at a faster pace. 80% of the innovative drugs could be listed within 2 years since marketing. But of course, it's still a long journey, especially basic research. It takes time because we started from scratch. And there will be a lot of setbacks in the stage. But as long as we can complete this journey, we will lay a solid foundation for the health guarantee of our patients. And that's why we are willing to hang on there. Some of us were born in the 1990s, but they could stay on the posts for a dozen of years. And for the previous generations, they dedicated decades of their life to this endeavor. Life comes first. To protect people's life and safety, that is our mission, and that's why we work around the clock. We hope that the new drug R&D will be faster. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the three members.
下面有请第三组委员
May
入
now
场。
bring on stage the next batch of CPPCC members. Please introduce yourselves.
大家好，
Good afternoon.
全国委员、全国政协委员李庆忠，来
My name is
自中国
Li
残联。
Qingzhong, a CPPCC member. I come from CDPF. Good afternoon. I'm a member of the CPPCC. My name is Zheng Jinhong. I come from the Sichuan Department of Justice. Good afternoon. I come from Hebei Land Port Construction Group. My name is Wei. Now the floor is open. First question, please.
谢谢主持人。中国政协杂志全媒体记者提问，我的问题提给李清忠委员。近年来，无障碍环境建设水平大幅提升，残疾人社会保障制度和关爱服务体系不断完善，获得感、幸福感、安全感显著增强。我想请问一下李委员，您谈一谈您的感想和体会，以及新形势下如何更好促进残疾人健康事业发展？谢谢。
people with disabilities in the new era. Thank you very much for your question. I believe many of us have read the book of If Only I Had 3 Days of Brightness. Helen Keller inspired each and every reader because of her love for life. And China has 85 persons with disabilities, including 15 million of people with visual impairments. Amongst the PWDs around me, there are many fine individuals, just like Helen Keller, for example, Liu Fang, who is a teacher from Sichuan province. She has dedicated herself to special education and training, and she has given more than 800 lectures. She also wrote a long novel that is about special education, and she's renowned as the Helen Keller in Deep Mountains. Huang Ying from Ningxia province has lost her visual capacity since childhood, and then she became a student at the Wuhan University of Technology through the college entrance examination through Brazil. Zhang Hong, another person without visual capability, for 6 consecutive years, he has been climbing upstairs for 5 hours per day. And the persistence and perseverance have translated his dream into reality. And in 2016, he became the first person with visual impairment that has claimed the peak of Himalayas. And there has been great support from the CPC Central Committee and the government to the people with disabilities, and because of technological breakthroughs, PWDs are now able to walk freely and communicate freely with other people, and people with visual impairment, they are able to read, learn. More and more persons with disabilities are able to walk out of their doors and to be a member of the society, contributing their part to the growth of the society. And they are optimistic, they are perseverant, and they have delivered wisdom and strength to the society, and they are pushing forward the growth of the society. And for me personally, I'm actually suffering from very significant visual impairment, but I'm able to take the subway to my work. I also take the flights and high-speed railways to different localities. I'm relying on some special tools to surf the net and to surf my cell phone. I believe that we need to put our hearts into whatever we do so as to offset our physical impairment. My personal creed is that I can go without visual capability, but I cannot go without light in my heart. In a new era, we have to make more contributions to enable more PWDs to become part of the society. I believe that with the support from all walks of social life, PWDs will be able to create their own happy life and a splendid future. We are all strivers on a journey of the Chinese dream. Thank you very much.
请继续提问，请举手示意。请 C 区那位
Next question,
穿灰色西服的记者提问。
谢谢主持人。
Thank you. From Legal Affairs newspaper, and my question goes to Member Zheng Hong. SMEs are relevant to people, and they are an important force to boost the socialist modernization. So, what do you think is the role of justice to better protect the legitimate rights and interests of SMEs and to boost their healthy development? Thank you for the questions. Yes, indeed. SMEs can do big deeds. They can facilitate innovation, create jobs, and improve people's livelihood as an important force. We must take legal means to protect the legitimate rights and interests of the SMEs. Here, I would love to share with you one real case. Here is one SME successfully bidding for a public construction project. But there was no righteous explanation from the Party A when Party A refused to sign the contract. But this SME has done a lot of preparation beforehand, so the people from this SME was anxious, and through different means they tried to negotiate with Party A, but all the efforts were in vain. Finally, the SME has to sue the Party A through the network. Once receiving this lawsuit, the Department of Justice did some rounds of negotiation and arbitration, and after half a month, the two parties come to a consensus. Party A agreed to some compensation to Party B, and Party B didn't have to pay a cent for the protection of their legitimate rights and interests. This is not a big case, but it proves a point that the rule of law is the best business environment, and we must rely on the rule of law to protect the rights and interests of SMEs, to ensure the fair play of the SMEs, and to protect their legitimate rights and interests. In 2017, the newly amended SME promotion law had a specific chapter about the protection of rights and interests, involving different types of rights and interests in 7 clauses. And the case I just mentioned suit the contents of that chapter. For example, the mechanism of a lawsuit and complaint could have the advantage of low cost and high efficiency. SMEs are like the caterpillar vessels of our economy, and they are very important. Looking into the future, China will boast a huge domestic market with 4 elements and a complete industrial system. The market-based and the law-based business environment will be optimized, and SMEs will have a bright prospect of development. We must continue to enrich the contents of rule of law by serving the people and thousands of enterprises. Especially the SMEs, which are relevant to tens of thousands of households. Thank you. Next question.
请举手示意。中间这位穿黄色衣服的女记者提问。
感谢主持人。中国青年报、中国青年网记者提问刘瑞林会员：中欧班列是共建“一带一路”的标志性品牌，请结合您的工作，介绍下中欧班列在高质量共建“一带一路”过程中发挥的作用，为沿线国家人民带来哪些便利？
Thank you very much for your question. China-Europe Express Rail is an important step China has made in building the BRI and the community of shared future for mankind. It is a real way of happiness for many countries. It is a representative brand of BRI. As of the end of February, a total of more than 85,000 pairs of trains have been operated. And last year, a total of 17,000 pairs of trains have been operated, increased by 6 and 18% respectively. This is a golden route of logistics connecting China and more than 25 European countries and more than 200 cities. So this has been renowned as the camel team in a new era, which has improved people's livelihood. I have numerous examples around me. There is a foreign trade company in Shijiazhuang that produces toys and electric bicycles. In the past, it can only rely on maritime routes for export. It has to rent a ship to carry out containers, and the logistic cost is always on the rise, even before their goods are shipped. And since there is this China-Europe Express Railway, they have transitioned their logistic solution. Each and every year, they can save 2 million yuan worth of logistic cost. And it only takes 15 days to travel from China to Europe, compared to 40 days if you choose the maritime routes. So you can see that this is the reduction of time and cost. The circulation of capital and goods has accelerated so that you can do foreign trade business right at your doorsteps. Through China-Europe Express Rail, more Chinese brands and goods are shipped to the global markets. On the other hand, we are bringing in more goods and services from overseas, which has significantly enriched people's lives. And let me share with you another example. Central Asian countries used to rely on highway to do trade and business with China, and since the Europe Express Railway has been put into place, they have transitioned to railways because it can carry a large quantity of food and it's very efficient. It is immune to weather incidents. Some of the trade representatives from Central Asia said that the Belt and Road Initiative is a great initiative for trade and business between different countries. And right now, Shijiazhuang is promoting the growth of trade through corridors. It is also promoting economic development by nurturing some key industries. It is also integrating various industries with different corridors. It is building the Beijing Tianjin Logistics Center, making its own contributions to a new development pattern. China-Europe Express Rail is a solid step, an example for the Belt and Road Initiative. In a new era, it is improving its quality, yielding more benefits to people across the world. Thank you very much to Mr. Liu and to all the 3 CPPCC members. Thank you also to the journalists. And this is the end of today's members' corridor. On the morning of March 7th, we are going to host the second members' corridor. Please stay tuned. Thank you very much.
Well, that was live feed from the venue of the opening session of the People's Political Consultative Conference, China's top political advisory body. Members are convening there in the Chinese capital to offer their suggestions and ideas for the country's development.
Mama, I always enjoy the members' corridor because they're no longer just names on a roster, real people with real professions and aspirations representative of their different sectors. You get to hear about their personal stories, about their professional aspirations, as well as really the latest developments in their respective fields.
Exactly, especially the progress made in the scientific fields, our deep sea submersible, and of course the meteorological satellites up there and running and offering climate information for countries around the world, Earth monitoring data, and of course that visually impaired member who was able to get around on public transportation and whose peer, a mountaineer, was able to make it to the top of Mount Chomolungma, Mount Everest, on his own.
Great personal stories and professional stories as well. Let's talk about some of this with our studio and guests here. Well, before that, I believe a reporter is standing by for us at the Great Hall of the People, Mama.
Let's hear from her. Our Huang Fei is joining us there. Well, Huang Fei, we've been hearing members taking questions from journalists home and abroad, and we could feel the passion and pride they take in their professions. Tell us about your takeaways there and what we can expect to happen in the rest of today's agenda.
Hello there, Mamang. That's right. We just heard the first of three members' corridor, the CPPCC members' corridor, where members took questions from the press, and we really heard a wide range of topics, from members from various sectors, from ocean exploration to railroad to social security, climate change, and healthcare. So, there are some keywords that we keep hearing in the past few days, and surely we'll keep hearing in the coming days as well, which is the economy and jobs. So one of the members mentioned that the economy, of course, is on many people's mind right now, and he sort of mentioned 5 key measures to boost the economy. Some of them is, of course, growing so-called new productive forces, which is finding new engines of growth, driving an economy led by innovation and technology. Now, jobs, that's also been mentioned many times. Young people and graduates are, giving more opportunities, or the CPPCC members are trying to put up, sort of create more initiatives to find jobs for these young people, and including improving the systems where they can have job on-the-job training, as well as, expanding hiring quotas and job opportunities within the state, within state-owned companies, as well as public organizations. Now, climate change, as I said, healthcare, also part of the key issues that were raised at the previous members' corridor. In the coming days, we will hear 2 more of these press corridors where more questions will be raised. And again, this is a big opportunity for members to really highlight the issues that are very dear to them. And also, but interestingly, I spoke to 2 of the members earlier this morning, and they were quite candid in saying that they were quite nervous coming into this job. Remember, 2023 was just the first year they started this role, and so this is the first time they were given an opportunity, or the second time they're given an opportunity to tell the public about the work they're doing. And tomorrow, today, 3 o'clock at the opening ceremony, we'll be hearing the work report by the CPPCC National Committee, again reflecting on the important work the CPPCC has done over the past year, as well as new plans for the future. More details will come, I'm sure, in the coming hours.
Well, candid conversations, candid interviews are the best. Good luck to those new members, and we certainly are keeping a close eye on that opening session, which will happen in a few minutes' time. CGTN's Huang Fei live at the Great Hall of the People right here in the heart of Beijing. Thank you so much. China has taken concrete steps to ensure the well-being of its vulnerable population, including people with disabilities. We follow Du Peng, a wheelchair user who helps evaluate barrier-free access in Beijing as he journeys from downtown to the Great Wall and experiences the transformative impact of China's new law on creating a barrier-free environment. We get this story from CGTN's Wu Haojun.
Every journey begins with a single push. For some, it can be a push towards a society where accessibility is no longer a privilege, but a fundamental right.
我叫杜鹏，我是北京市的一名无障碍监督员。我是在2002年大4的时候，因为突发脊髓瘤，然后导致就是高位截瘫。
Du Peng is one of 1,400 people with disabilities working with the Beijing Disabled Persons Federation to assess accessibility of buildings, transportation hubs, and other vital facilities.
这个公交站呢，就是等于是没有原石坡道。
This time, he set his sights further, all the way to the Badaling Great Wall, some 80 kilometers away from his home in Beijing's Chaoyang district, via public transport like subway and high-speed train. Du says he's excited to find out if this route is accessible as psychosocial needs of people with disabilities continue to grow.
因为现在就是我们国家的这个无障碍环境越来越好，各方面政策也越来越好。很多残障朋友呢，不只是满足就是基本的生活了，大家对这种精神方面的生活，包括娱乐方面的生活，包括旅游的需求，其实也是在日益激增的。
Routes planned, tools packed, the journey begins. The first stop is the Chaoying subway station. Curb ramps, accessible elevators, facilities often taken for granted by most people have made this trip possible. But it's not all about the hardware. Like his 22 million other residents, Du Peng and his wife enjoy what the Chinese capital has to offer.
本身我也是日常靠轮椅出行，日常在轮椅上生活，包括我爱人也是坐轮椅，所以呢，我俩基本上就是现在完全是自己独立生活。然后呢，包括我们也是平常每天挤地铁上班，然后下班以后也是买菜做饭。周六周日的时候，我们也会经常去看电影，或者出去玩，或者去商场买东西。等等等等，我觉得和其他人没有任何区别。
After a 30-minute ride on the subway, Du Peng arrives at the Beijing Bay Railway Station, where he will take a 50-minute high-speed train to the Badaling Great Wall. The railway station has a designated waiting area for people with special needs. He indicated his needs prior to the trip when booking his seat on 12306, the official ticketing app of China Railway.
包括我购完票以后，在12306上，就是填写了这个重点旅客服务，填写完了10分钟，工作人员就联系我，然后呢问我的需求，然后到了站以后的话呢，工作人员就全程协助我进站，然后上车，包括安排到这个无障碍坐席。
Du has observed a significant increase in awareness and efforts towards accessibility, especially since the implementation of China's new law on the construction of a barrier-free environment in 2023.
其实我们以前在从事无障碍工作的时候呢，都是跟大家动之以情、晓之以理的来说这件事情，就是您要修这个坡道，比如您要修这个无障碍卫生间很重要。然后呢，但是呢，有的商家呢，或者是他就觉得可能他不愿意修。但是现在我们在做工作的时候呢，我们说现在我们有无障碍环境建设法了，有的时候呢，您可能不修也得修，所以这个呢，就给我们工作呢一个有力的支持。
好，谢谢。Upon arriving at the Badaling station, he takes an inclined elevator that lifts people to a height of more than 40 meters in 70 seconds. Du enters the scenic area of the Badaling Great Wall through a special security check lane. Then he heads for wheelchair ramps that allow people with disabilities to access a platform from which he admires the magnificent view.
这个坡道我觉得完全按照规范设计。你看这个坡道很长，它每隔多少米就会有一个休息平台，这样方便滑轮椅的朋友呢，就是不至于一直这么累，也会保证安全。然后它的扶手也是就是高度合适，包括凌空侧的这个安全阻挡，也都是非常非常好的设计的，就是凌空侧怕轮椅小轮或者老人的拐杖掉出去。
Sitting on the ancient bricks, Du starts to understand why the Great Wall is iconic and inspiring to millions, but in a different way.
来到长城以后，就是看到下边那个坡道，那几组坡道其实是挺壮观的。就是我们山上有这种长城的蜿蜒曲折，我们山下有这样的坡道的蜿蜒曲折，我觉得这个是相互辉映的。
Du hopes his journey inspires more people like him to go out, to explore the world, and embrace more opportunities.
我也希望呢，能有更多的残障朋友呢，有机会的话，一定可以多出来走走。你可以亲身感受一下自己身边的一些无障碍的变化，可能还是有一些你不满意的地方，可能有一些做得不好的地方，但是呢，我觉得会越来越好。
Du Peng's simple and straightforward journey to the Great Wall reflects China's broader and steadfast commitment not just to infrastructure, but to fostering an inclusive society, one step, one ramp, one accessible path at a time. CGTN.
Fascinating stories there, and that person, Dupont, was able to experience the barrier-free facilities firsthand and to offer suggestions to authorities to further improve these public facilities and services for people with disabilities. And now let's further discuss this with our guests here in the studio. Well, so Professor Gao, we were hearing CPPCC members, advisors offering their suggestions. They are the best and brightest in their professions. There was a great deal of passion and pride. Some of the scientists, for example, the pharmacists, they may not practice public speaking on a day-to-day basis, but then we can still feel that their answer from the journalists are very enlightening in terms of content.
Well, I would say we just now listened to 9 members divided into 3 groups, and these members truly represent one important thing. That is, the CPPCC members really come from all walks of life. They are not just government officials or party officials. They are professionals, entrepreneurs, workers, and outstanding members of the society. And they each bring onto the table their true expertise and observations, and they can really inform the rest of the country and the rest of the nation what they are doing and how they are doing this in excellent way. And I think this really illustrates the true value of CPPCC. They give advice, they help the government entities to do the monitoring, and then they continue to push for more engagement with everyone in the country and also greater level of opening up to the rest of the world. And I think the uniqueness and the extraordinary nature of CPPCC is really part of what we call consultative democracies in China. Democracy in China is not just confrontational or a conflict, for example, or class struggle, if you use that word. It's very much consultation among the people. And if you come across a problem, you bring the top talents, you bring the top brain, and try to solve the problem or get at a better solution through consultation rather than confrontation. Therefore, these members, as well as other members that we will listen to in the coming few days, will convince all of us that this system works in China. Whether it will work in other countries, that's none of our business, but our task is to make sure that this consultative democracy works in China.
Members have been following certain fine traditions in the past 75 years since the founding of the CPPCC, and now as we speak we're watching some external view of the Great Hall of the People, the venue of the China's most important political events of the year, the Great Hall of the People. So let's talk about the fine traditions of the CPPCC. It's been 75 years since the body was founded. What are some of the progress made over the past decades?
As I mentioned, CPPCC is unique, and I don't think we can see any such similar arrangement in any other country in the world. CPPCC is not a parliament. It's not a chamber of the whole Congress, for example, and the members are not elected. They are appointed. And then, as mentioned just now, about 60% of the members of the CPPCC are actually not Communist Party members. They are other party members, they are independent, for example, unaffiliated, and then they actually do not form part of the government apparatus. They are very much having their own job, and they do this part-time, not full-time. And then they bring onto the table really what they do on a daily basis, their observations, their experiences. And many people in China actually walk up to the CPPCC member to raise their concerns, to ask them to convey their particular problems or questions through the CPPCC system. And then the whole nation actually put a premium on what the CPPCC member has to say and has to advise, for example. And all this crystallize into one key thing to make sure that, as I mentioned, the political system, the democracy in China work according to the special circumstances in China. Therefore, these CPPCC members in their daily life get a lot of recognition and respect from people around them, and they work very hard because they have their own job to do, and they have their own professional job, and then they will also need to take time out of their very busy schedule to look for issues, if any, and then try their best to use their brain to solve these problems. And the way they need to interact, for example, with the government of all levels, to make sure that their proposals will eventually be accepted,
Victor,
will be the key.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We're watching live pictures of the Great Hall of the People here in Beijing, where this year's session of the National Committee of the CPPCC is beginning. Let's watch together.
The excellent members, dear friends and comrades, the second session of the 14th National Committee of CPPCC has a number of expected members of 2,162, with 2,093 actually attending. It's reaching the quorum. So now I declare that the second session of the 14th National Committee of CPPCC opens. Please all rise up and sing the national anthem. Please take your seats. As invited, today with us we have General Secretary of CPC Central Committee, President of People's Republic of China, and Chairman of the Central Military Commission, Comrade Xi Jinping. Other leaders and comrades of the party and the nation. The members of the Standing Committee of NPC, of CPC Central Committee and the State Council, as well as the foreign ambassadors to China and overseas Chinese. Now let's give them a big hand. In today's opening, there will be three things on our agenda. Now, first and foremost, let's approve the agenda for the second session of the 14th National Committee of CPPCC. Our staff member read the agenda. For the second session of the 14th National Committee of CPPCC, agenda draft. First, listen to and deliberate on the Standing Committee's work report of the 14th National Committee. Second, listen to and deliberate on the Standing Committee's report on the work achievements of the first session of the 14th National Committee. Third, to attend the second NPC, listen to and deliberate on the government work report and other relevant reports. Fourth, deliberate and approve the second session of the 14th National Committee's political decision. Fifth, deliberate and approve the second session of the 14th National Committee's work report of the Standing Committee. Sixth, deliberate and approve the second session of the 14th National Committee's achievements made since the first session of the 14th National Committee was made. Seventh, approve the Proposal Committee's report on the review of the first session's report. That's the end of the announcement. So, dear members, for this agenda's draft, any opinion? If no, please applaud for the approval. Now, the second thing on the agenda, let's give the floor to Comrade Wang Huning on behalf of the Standing Committee of the 14th National Committee to deliver the work report. Dear members, on behalf of the Standing Committee of the 14th National Committee of CPPCC, I would love to deliver the work report for your deliberation. First, the major work in 2023. 2023 was the beginning year to implement the instructions of the 20th National Congress. The CPC Central Committee, with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, unite and lead all parties and people of all ethnicities to continue our work to make progress in steadiness. We forge ahead to conquer difficulties internally and externally. We deepen our reform and opening up. COVID-19 containment was stabilized. High-quality growth has made solid progress. Technological innovation has made breakthroughs, and we have also cemented the foundation for safe development and aggressively guarantee people's livelihood. We have completed the major targets for economic and social development and stabilized the social environment. We've made solid steps forward as to building a socialist modern country, greatly cementing people's confidence of all ethnicities. Under the firm leadership of CPC, with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, the Standing Committee and the National Committee of the CPPCC committed to the Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics by comprehensively executing the instructions of the 20th National Congress and the second plenary session of the 20th CPC Central Committee. We have deeply understood the ideas like the two upholds for consciousness, for confidence, and we are committed to the two themes of unity and democracy and the positioning and nature of CPPCC. In consideration of the overall picture of the party and the nation, we plan out and execute the work of CPPCC to make new grounds. And on the basis of the previous sessions, we have made new achievements of all sorts of work, making new contributions to serving the party and the national undertakings. And to have a good start for the 14th CPPCC, we will make efforts on the following 4 arenas. First, continue to steer to the full leadership of CPC as to the work of CPPCC to hold ourselves to the right political direction. We are deeply aware that CPPCC is a political organization led by the Communist Party of China, so voluntarily we will practice that idea of full leadership by CPC in the different aspects of our work. Ideologically and politically and in actions, we will align ourselves with CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core. We have made a reporting list from the CPC party group and the CPPCC agencies party group to the CPC Central Committee. We stringently execute the major events reporting system. We have also formulated the mechanism of first issue and studied and executed 182 instructions by General Secretary Xi Jinping for 19 times. We have improved the execution mechanism and the work log as well as the investigation mechanism. Since the 18th National Congress, the major instructions by General Secretary Xi Jinping as to the CPPCC work has been reviewed by the CPPCC. We have studied the spirits from the National Ecological and Environmental Protection Conference, the Central Financial Affairs Work Conference, the Central Conference on our economic work, the Central Conference on the Foreign Affairs, and others. The CPPCC as well as CPPCC agencies, together with the dedicated committees, have formulated 64 working plans accordingly. Second, strengthen political training to improve our political and fulfillment capabilities. We center on the ideological and political establishment and make key efforts to work on the highlights and serve the big picture. We have made out the training plan for the members of the 14th National Committee and the CAGE's educational and the training plan for the CPPCC agencies. To study and implement General Secretary Xi Jinping's major thoughts on improving the CPPCC work, we have held the workshops for the new members and the special committees members' training courses, as well as the thematic workshops for the members. In total, 8,740 people have attended the training sessions, and the members of the CPPCC Presidency's Conference took the lead to give lectures, encouraging the vast number of members and agencies' CAGEs to improve their cohesion and to cement the fundamentals in order to improve their political judgment, comprehension, and execution power, thus better serving the nation and the people. Third, improving the working mechanisms to cement the obligation fulfillment basis. We carefully implement General Secretary Xi Jinping's instructions in the 20th National Congress report as to institutionalize, standardize the CPPCC. In the efforts of learnings, trainings, investigation, field visits, consultation, communications, publicity, and reading by the members, as well as the development of the agencies, we have finalized 87 systems. We stringently execute the systems and compile 57 CPPCC systems, 171 agency-related systems. For the important systems and mechanisms, we have dedicated supervision as to their execution to fight against formalism and bureaucracy. The CPPCC agencies will work hard on the relevant system establishment so that there will be the efficient execution of accountability systems and performance evaluation system. Fourth, be problem-oriented to improve the quality of our investigation and participation in the deliberation of state affairs. We bear in mind the positioning of CPPCC to have full process standardization and optimization of our work. We committed ourselves to investigate before consultation by executing the central instructions as to the investigation. We have strengthened the investigation research work opinions and explore the system of holding a thematic research across different committees led by the presidency conference members. And for some in-depth problems, we organize different forces to follow up. So through the way of investigation, then consultation, and then re-investigation, we will dig deeper into the problems. And we will also improve the preparation of the consultation conferences to improve the professionalism and representation of the members, create conditions for the members to have a better idea about the policies and to build their consensus. From 1,755 proposals, we have selected 21 prioritized items for the state affairs discussion. And based on the general public's expectation and the center tasks, we have held several rounds of proposals and consultations for 1 year. To fulfill our functionalities, CPPCC Standing Committee has done the following. First, solidly study Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics through the thematic education to cement the political and ideological basis. Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics is taken as the guideline for CPPCC work, and we hold ourselves to the thought by aligning the learnings, the ideologies, and the practices so that our knowledge, faith, and actions are allied, and all party groups and people of all ethnicities could come to the same page in action and in thoughts. We have also organized different party groups and the CPPCC agencies, the special committees, to participate in the thematic education, so that with the study together, we will highlight the party's nature, practices, and establishing new achievements. And we also have learned the selections of Xi Jinping work, excerpts of Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics, and the report of the 20th National Congress. We have held 5 CPPCC party theory learning workshops, 2 thematic reading classes, 4 presidency conference collective learnings, 3 standing committees lectures. So Xi Jinping's major instructions and the major decisions by the CPC were taken into the activities of our state affairs deliberation so that we could improve the targeted consultation and the leading influence of our consultation. As to Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics, we have held 35 learning workshops with 690 members participating, covering 34 different sectors. We have also formulated the reading activity working plan for the CPPCC members. For example, there were 12 different reading groups to discuss about that thought. We have also come up with the theoretical work opinions guiding our members to fully consider major theories and practices when they conduct their research. We support the CPPCC Institute of Theory to hold theoretical workshop under the theme of giving play to the role of whole process people's democracy in the work of CPPCC. And there will be special columns in the journals of CPPCC agencies, and the CPPCC party group members and special committees, party secretary, the local CPPCC comrades, and the CPPCC members' theoretical learning articles have been published through the different channels. And through such learnings and research, our members and cadres have a deeper understanding about Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics. And while we study the theories, we also investigate and reform. We have solicited opinions from the previous CPPCC leaders and cadres, the comrades from special committees, CPPCC members, cadres of CPPCC agencies, and the CPPCC at different provincial levels. And according to the plan, we have corrected our behaviors in 69. And second, as to the major arrangements of the 20th National Congress, we have taken some tasks to serve the party and the central work of our nation. We have implemented the approved annual consultation plan by the CPC Central Committee by holding thematic deliberation conference of the Standing Committee, thematic consultation conferences, bi-weekly workshops, and remote consultation conferences, the proposal consultation conference, sector-based consultation conferences, and experts consultation conferences. In total, there were about 94 sessions with 1,587 people attending, and 1,602 speeches were given. And we have also held some thematic standing committees meetings, for example, themed under establishing new development landscape for Chinese modernization, improving technological innovation system, to execute the innovation-driven development strategy. As to the other tasks like the modernized industrial system building, industrial chain, supply chain resilience building, and improving the core technologies breakthroughs, improving the quality of the masses, and optimizing the private enterprises development environment, we have held a series of investigations as to urbanization, real estate market, steady development. We have held 4 macroeconomy workshops, as well as the member discussions of our economy to cement our development confidence. We also held some thematic meetings under the framework of Standing Committee. For example, ecological and environmental protection to build a beautiful China. And the environment and resource sectors were invited in to pave the way for the battle against pollution, to accelerate green development and low-carbon development, to promote the Yangtze River Economic Belt development and the Yellow River Delta ecological protection and high-quality growth. With the rule of law, we are promoting the natural preserve system development, strengthen desertification control efforts, and as to issues like new pollutants control, new energy industry, recycling, ecological product value realization, the National Water Network establishment, we have also conducted some research. We also held thematic consultation conferences under the theme of Chinese civilization, communication, and influence to carry on the fine Chinese traditional culture and to communicate about them globally. We also boost digital culture industry development and integrate culture with tourism to serve the cause of building a strong culture-based country. And also we enlarge the scope of participation in the state affairs to add the number of speakers. For example, we have enhanced the number of attendees in the bi-weekly consultation conferences. We also communicate with local people's consultation conferences as to the discussions. And for 10 major issues, we have some special democratic supervision with 92 attendees. We also nominate 21 members to be the supervisors of the National Commission of Supervision and 30 members to serve in the Supreme People's Court and 10 members to serve in the Ministry of Public Security.
Third, take the people-centered approach and improve people's livelihood. We perform our duties for the people and mobilize our members to serve the people. We organized the symposium on coordinating urban-rural development and advancing rural revitalization in order to promote high-quality employment and avoid falling back into poverty, deliver satisfactory education, and improve the modern vocational education system and enhance skills innovation and balance the regional distribution of medical resources and develop the elderly care industry and modernize city-level social governance and conduct consultations on the teaching system of middle school and primary schools, on accelerating the elderly adaptation mechanism and improve the support mechanisms for birth. And we also carried out serving the people campaigns and introduced a number of science lectures amongst the members. A total of 44 lectures have been organized to publicize the laws and relevant knowledge. And we also encouraged the members of the CPPCC in the fields of medical and health, sports, culture, and science and technology to go to grassroots communities to support schooling, to aid the vulnerable, to engage in technical trainings, and to engage in legal assistances. A total of more than 2,480 such activities have been organized so as to mobilize all the members to discharge their responsibilities and duties. We also focused on regular works and improved the performance of our duties, and we have strengthened our coordination, downsized various delegations so as to avoid the repetition of our performance of duties and reduce the burdens at the grassroots level. We have organized special investigations and inspections at the special consultation agency level. A total of more than 138 such inspections have been organized. A total of 17 inspection delegations have been formed involving 202 members, 81 such inspections involving more than 600 members. We also set up the CPPCC investigation magazine, and we have amended the ordinance on proposal work and improved the work quality on submitting, handling, supervising, and evaluating the proposals. And we have collected a total of 5,621 proposals. 4,791 of them have been handled, reaching a rate of 99.9%. A total of 1,982 members have submitted their proposals, and 1,811 of them are the original proposer of these proposals. We also introduced the collection of major proposals. And we also formulated rules to reflect the opinions and feedbacks from the society, and we have received a total of 43,995 articles from the society, among which 6,010 articles have been adopted. A total of 1,154 members have submitted 7,421 articles, among which 1,700 of them have been adopted. And we also introduced 1,063 editions of different magazines, and we have submitted 594 editions of them to the CPC Central Committee, to the State Council and relevant organizations. A total of 233 editions of information and magazines have been published, collecting the remarks of CPPCC members and their discussions and investigations and consultations. A total of 76 reports have been submitted to the national level. The CPPCC magazine has also published 680 articles on major activities of CPPCC members, and there were also 2,278 duty reports of CPPCC members. The CPPCC magazine also covered 278 events of the CPPCC members at various levels, and we have collected 901 written speeches and 65 oral presentations. The People's Daily and the CPPCC magazine have also published 818 bi-monthly consultation minutes and standing committee meetings of the CPPCC. We also formulated a liaison mechanism with the society. A total of more than 6,800 such activities have been carried out. And the compilation scheme for the 14th CPPCC material selection has been published. 11 such consultations have been organized, supporting face-to-face consultation with 324 members of the CPPCC from 19 bureaus. We also mobilized 808 party cadres to conduct self-reviews, and we have formulated the CPPCC inspection agency, which rolled out a 5-year plan covering the inspection of 10 special committees in the next few years. We also support the Central Discipline Inspection to conduct their efforts and work at the CPPCC, and we have organized 7 rounds of evaluations so as to ensure the safe operation of the CPPCC. Fifth, leverage the role of United Front so as to promote the harmonious relationship between different political parties, ethnic groups, religions, social classes, and between Chinese and Chinese compatriots living overseas. We integrate uniformity and diversity so as to expand the common ground and draw the largest concentric circles. Leverage the CPPCC as one important political format of the new type of political systems in China. Relevant special committees have joined the central headquarters of democratic parties and the All China Federation of Business and Commerce in 5 key meetings. Non-party affiliates and members from the All China Federation of Business and Commerce and from other political parties have submitted a total of 563 proposals and 144 speeches made to the CPPCC Congress. We also established a liaison mechanism with all the members and strengthened our communication. These opinions have been adopted by relevant authorities. We also conducted 11 inspection tours involving members with no party affiliations. 828 CPPC members who are also CPC members have established liaison relations with 1,157 members without any party affiliations. We have also strengthened the communication mechanism with intellectuals, with figures from the private economy and new social class groups. We have mobilized the learnings on how to implement China's governance strategy in Tibet, and we have conducted more than 10 investigations regarding how to localize the Muslims in Xinjiang, Tibet, as well as in Sichuan province. In the meantime, we have consolidated the training of common awareness as Chinese nationals. We have organized relevant members to support the teaching and training in various sectors. At the same time, we have mobilized youth from Macau and Hong Kong to learn more about the overall development pattern of the mainland. by focusing on cross-strait cooperation and gathering opinions across the two sides of the strait. We have organized the 6th Cross-Strait Governance Forum focusing on the issues at the grassroots. We also received 367 visits from overseas compatriots, and those have helped to consolidate the contributions of overseas Chinese and gathering their opinions. 6th, we have engaged in friendly international relations so as to serve the overall diplomatic work of the party and the country. Following the overall scheme of China's diplomatic efforts, we have carried out a number of public diplomacy and people-to-people exchanges, think tank level diplomatic work so as to build a favorable external environment for the country. We have organized 23 visits to more than 200 organizations in 50 countries. We have also established ties with 41 think tanks overseas and 12 civil organizations from overseas. At the same time, we have organized 3 events featuring the visits of diplomatic envoys from international organizations and foreign countries, and also scholars of the Oriental Scholarship. This involved 25 international organizations and 84 countries and 2,100 people. This is of great significance in helping the outside to understand the whole process of people's democracy and the CPPCC of China. We also set up the China-Africa friendliness team at the 14th National Committee of the CPPCC. This is of great significance in supporting the International Symposium on Interreligious Exchanges and the construction of a community of shared future for mankind. It also played a very important role in supporting the 2023 China Economic and Social Forum, focusing on the theme of openness, development, civilization, and a community of shared future for mankind. We also mobilized CPPCC members to publicize the results of the 3rd Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation so as to showcase an image of China that is trustworthy and respectable. Dear members, the achievement that we have achieved over the past year is indispensable from the strong leadership of the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, and also the scientific guideline of Xi Jinping's thought of socialism with Chinese characteristics. It is also the result of united efforts of all the CPPCC members and all the organizations. Here, on behalf of the National Committee of CPPCC, I would like to pay my heartfelt thanks to all the members. At the same time, we must be mindful of the deficiencies of our work. There is a lack of systematic research and study on some of the major issues. There is also a lack of deep consultations. There is a deficiency in supervision, and there's also deficiencies in our systems. All these deficiencies must be offset in our work going forward. Second, key tasks in 2024. 2024 marks the 75th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China. It's a crucial year for the 14th Five-Year Plan. It also marks the 75th anniversary of the founding of the CPPCC. We must follow the guidance of Xi Jinping's thought of socialism with China's characteristics for the new era, follow the 2 establishing, strengthen for consciousness and for confidences, and practice the 2 maintenances and follow the spirit of the Chinese CPC National Congress and the 2nd plenary session of the 20th CPC National Congress. We must uphold the leadership of the CPC Central Committee and stick with consultative democracy and strengthen the united front and make new contributions to the accomplishment of the economic and social development targets in a new year. We must uphold the CPC leadership in the work of the CPPCC. CPC leadership is the original characteristic of the CPPCC. It has been a fundamental political principle over the past 75 years since the CPPCC has been established. It is also the fundamental guarantee for the success of the CPPCC. We must advocate the fine traditions, remember our political responsibilities, and uphold the standardized, centralized, and uniform leadership of the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, and also grasp the fundamental political characteristics of the CPPCC and its various organizations so as to practice the CPC leadership in everything we do, such as democratic consultations, supervision, and the consolidation of our consensus and investigations, as well as the building of the CPPCC itself. We must also be continuously armed by the innovative theories of the party. The Xi Jinping thought of socialism with Chinese characteristics for the new era is a guiding principle and ideology that we must adhere to in a long time. We need to consolidate the results of party-themed education, internalize our learning, and carry out regular learning and reading activities so as to translate what we have learned into real capabilities in political consultation, in democratic supervision, and in participation of political affairs, so as to contribute to high-quality development. We must strengthen theoretical studies and focus on the scientific systems, connotations of Xi Jinping's thought of socialism with Chinese characteristics, so as to improve the overall capacity of CPPCC members in discharging their responsibilities and duties. We need to grasp the opportunity of the 75th anniversary of the founding of the CPPCC to mobilize more members and people of all all walks of society to consolidate the political advantage of Chinese socialism and make new progress of the CPPCC. At the same time, we must make new contributions to China's modernization. We need to leverage the role of special consultation organizations, focus on major decisions and strategies of the CPPCC. We need to implement the 2024 consultation plans of the CPPCC, which is approved by the CPC Central Committee. This requires that we put our members at the very center to carry out investigations, to travel to the grassroots to understand people's appeals, and to collect feedback so as to make our proposals more targeted and more precise. And this is also requiring us to implement the whole process people's democracy so as to serve more scientific and democratic decision-making. We must be committed to drawing the largest concentric circles. The CPPCC is the broadest united front, and we need to grasp the work and the patterns of the public mass so as to get down to substantial work and enable that our CPPCC members can play a liaison role and can truly serve the general public. We need to strengthen the leadership of ideology and inspire and encourage more people using the great blueprint of Chinese modernization so as to consolidate our consensus and unite Chinese men and women of all ethnic groups to contribute positively to the growth of the nation. And we must also tell the Chinese story well and amplify the voice of China at the global arena. Dear members, to succeed in the CPPCC work in a new era, we need to improve our capacity in discharging our duties. We must follow the instruction of General Secretary Xi Jinping regarding the CPPCC work and discipline and integrity, strengthen the building of two teams improve and enhance our political judgment, political awareness, and execution of our duties, get down to substantial work, and follow through the 8-point discipline rules of the CPC Central Committee and the fight against formalism and bureaucracy, so as to demonstrate the image of CPPCC members in a new era. We must also deepen the reforms of political organs, improve our work mechanisms, make our work more plan-based, systemic, targeted, more effective, and also improve the overall qualification of our cadres so as to continue the fight against the corruption and constantly improve the level of integrity of all CPPC's members. Eventually, we are going to build an exemplary political organization that is welcomed and recognized by the party and the people. Dear members, solidarity will lead to strength, and let us unite more firmly under the strong leadership of the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core. Let's unite our strengths and forces and open a new chapter of CPPCC in a new era, and make tireless efforts in building socialism with Chinese characteristics and in achieving the great national rejuvenation of the Chinese nation.
Well, there we heard this report card of the advisory body for the members to discuss and deliberate in the following week. And then there's also a self-reflection and some critique of the specific problems that emerge from day-to-day work. And of course, the members are actively looking for solutions to these problems.
I mean, pretty much everything they did last year was to serve the purpose of moving the country forward, of reviving the economy, of improving people's livelihoods. We heard a report on how they did last year, what they plan to do this year. A very comprehensive work report there delivered by CPPCC National Committee Chairman Wang Huning. And let's continue our studio discussion with our guests here.
Sure. So, Professor Gao, let me ask you this. What are some of the most impressive issues you noticed from this work report?
Well, first of all, Mr. Wang Huiying really gave a very full-length report about what CPPCC did for the last year, and also predicted what this year will need to be done. And I think his focus is very much on how the CPPCC process need to be maintained and further promoted, and how CPPCC need to work together with other branches of the government, for example, to come up with a more comprehensive, overarching solution to all kinds of issues that the country is faced with, including very importantly domestic issues, economic development, for example, how to make sure that the economy will need to transit in the right direction, overcome all the challenges. And I think he mentioned the unemployment and many other things which need to be taken care of. And the fact that he mentioned that altogether for the CPPCC session for the last year, they produced all kinds of recommendations, proposals, many of which have been adopted by different parts of the government and contributed to the ultimate success of the economy, of the reform of all kinds throughout the country, really gave more confidence for everyone in the country about the sustainability and the continuity of the CPPCC process. And then he also emphasized that going forward in the coming year, this CPPCC process need to really be brought to a better use, because we are faced with more challenges, both at home as well as in the world. And he also mentioned, for example, cross-strait issues, etc., the overseas Chinese issues, and all these things will need to be taken care of by the different parts of the government. But then, as he mentioned, CPPCC, as well as all its members, will really need to play a very useful, important role in this whole process.
I mean, the CPPCC as a political mechanism is constantly improving itself. If you come to think of it, the success of the CPPCC really lies with its ability to raise the most efficient proposals to tackle the most pressing issues here. And when you hear that work report from the chairman there, last year they really focused on the quality of research, They try to improve political consultation. Lawrence, coming to you now, how important is it that the CPPCC is constantly trying to improve itself as a mechanism, and year after year they're trying to do the research a little bit better, they're trying to do more consultation, they're trying to organize more study groups? How important is that?
China People's Political Consultative Conference. Consultative is the key word. I mean, this is a process of constant integrating of ideas. Some of the people that we saw in the corridor just now are really coming from the front line of industry, of infrastructure, of science, of technology, of the arts. And therefore, you're having this entire sort of grassroots, cross-sectoral, integrated infeed of information, concerns, and I think that this is very, very important. And it's being done in a consultative, constructive factor. They're trying to solve issues looking way ahead in a constructive manner. That's very different than we look at our Congress in the US, which is all argumentative and all conflict and actually not getting anything done because everything's stuck on a kind of duality. But this is very much an Asian way of thinking, a yin-yang, non-duality, everybody working toward a common goal, but bringing in their own inputs from their own sectors in an integrated way. And that's what makes this process so important, because it's allowing the leadership then to really have eyes and ears on the ground and know what's happening across many different sectors. And you have people from so many different walks of life, again, arts, industry, science, technology, military, civil service, everything. And that's very different than, let's say, American Congress, where everybody's a lawyer. I mean, I don't know, do lawyers represent the interests of the people? You have to think about that. But, it's really very much a grassroots feed up. And that, I think, is what's so important as China constantly looks ahead at the challenges, both in terms of its domestic economy, global situation, and it's constantly thinking of how to reset, how to respond in, again, a constructive way. And that's what makes the difference here.
And you mentioned this keyword, consultative. And I'd like to mention that even though the proposals by members, advisors, are not legally binding, many of them are still very much valued by central authorities and being translated to policies on the national level and provincial level, of course.
All right, gentlemen, do stay with me here on our program. We'll be back with you in a few moments' time. And now, during the past year, China continued to signal a high level of opening up, injecting openness, stability, and new impetus into a sluggish global economy. Take a look.
In 2023, amid the rising talk of decoupling and breaking supply chains, China continued its efforts to open up.
China will adhere to high-level opening up, comprehensively promote Chinese modernization with high-quality development, and provide new opportunities for opening up and cooperation among all countries.
A series of new policies have been implemented, including improved visa policies, development of pilot-free trade zones, digital trade, and RMB internationalization, benefiting both China and the rest of the world. On March 1st, China and Thailand implemented visa-free policies for each other's citizens. Thailand was the third country after Singapore and Antigua and Barbuda to sign a mutual visa-free exemption agreement with China this year. By the end of January, the travel orders of Chinese tourists to Singapore, Malaysia and Thailand during the Spring Festival season increased by more than 15 times on a yearly basis, according to data released by Trip.com. China has signed comprehensive mutual visa exemptions with 23 countries. Over 60 countries and regions offer visa-free or visa-on-arrival policies to Chinese citizens. Starting from December 1st, China applied a unilateral visa-free policy for travellers holding ordinary passports from France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Spain and Malaysia. It was the first time China granted visa-free access to Western countries directly and unilaterally.
In this way, it's very easy. You just book your flight and you can come more often to China. So I'm very happy about this.
There were 118,000 visa-free arrivals in China by people with ordinary passports from 6 countries in the first month after the new policy began. accounting for more than half of total arrivals. 91,000 arrived for tourism and business, accounting for nearly 77%. Experts say China's improvement of visa measures encourages people-to-people exchanges and promotes investment. The Shanghai Pilot-Free Trade Zone marked its 10th anniversary in 2023. It has become a landmark gateway for foreign investment in China. Over the past decade, it has made a series of innovations in promoting high-level institutional opening up. The overall scale of China's digital trade is expanding. In 2023, China's cross-border e-commerce imports and exports reached 2.38 trillion yuan, or about $330 billion US. China has also expanded opening up in the financial sector. The function of the RMB as an international currency continues to strengthen. In September 2023, it gained a record share of global payments in trade, overtaking the euro for the first time. And in 2023, China held a number of international trade fairs and exhibitions, attracting enterprises from all over the world. Restrictions on overseas investment in the manufacturing sector have also been lifted. The Belt and Road Initiative reached the 10-year mark with more than 150 countries and over 30 international organizations joining in. The structure of the country's foreign trade is also upgrading, as new energy vehicles, lithium batteries and photovoltaic products gain increased popularity. With rising uncertainties in the global economic recovery, China says its resolve to advance high-level opening up stays unchanged. It will continue to share development opportunities with the rest of the world. Joe Willits, CGTN.
Now let's pick up where we left off with our guests just now. And for this part, we'd like to look into the future, into 2024. Gentlemen, how can the CPPCC work in a more efficient and effective way in 2024 in terms of pushing some of the most pressing issues forward this year? Lawrence, can we start with you?
Well, I think first of all, they're looking at upgrading the entire structure of the Chinese economy. I mean, there's now talk about a sort of a new economic forces, new economic drivers. This is looking at, of course, digital economy, AI taking over many of the manufacturing jobs. In turn, also, we're looking at the greater Bay Area that's going to be absorbing really or integrating Macau, Hong Kong, Shenzhen, and actually leveraging the best aspects of each of these points in terms of building an entire technology zone that's integrated through the Belt and Road, through finance, through the globalization of the yuan currency. So I think really these are all agendas, especially the green agenda. I mean, the whole upgrade of industry right now, everything that's going to be going green. This is, where China's really leading the world without any question. I mean, we think about in the U.S. we have Tesla. Oh, wow, it's a green car. But China has so many different electric vehicles, and now the promotion of actually making it a national policy to have electric vehicles, and then the transition of the grid away from fossil fuels. We're looking at 2030, maybe 80% is green energy. China's leading the world on this, but this requires an entire upgrade, entire education of the entire economic system, youth involvement. So this is really a big task ahead. And I think the CPPCC, from its perspective in providing, again, the grassroots input from cross-sectoral, multi-sector disciplines into that system, is very, very critical in driving the policies that will make this all happen.
Most of the focus on the role of the CPPCC stays on domestic level, but on the international level, Victor, what are some of the ways to push for greater international cooperation? Lawrence mentioned the Belt and Road Initiative, and there's also the diplomatic exchanges of think tanks with the rest of the world.
Well, first of all, China is fully integrated with the rest of the world, either through the Belt and Road Initiative and through China's participation in all the international organizations, and the fact that China is the largest trading nation with more than 130 nations in the world, and China's manufacturing output is larger than the next 10 countries combined, means that whatever we are doing here in China has a bearing on the rest of the world. And the fact that China promotes integration with the rest of the world, and also a further globalization means that we need to really care about what's happening in China as well as what's going on in the rest of the world. Only in this way, I think CPPCC will play a better role in promoting globalization.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Dr. Victor Gao and Mr. Lawrence Brom, thank you for your insights.
And with that, we come to the end of our special program on the opening of this year's session of the CPPCC National Committee. I'm Zhong Shi.
I'm Wang Wangmang. Thanks for watching.